As always here in Iran, there's two different sets of reactions, one from the people, your average citizens, and then from the government. First, a reaction from the people who've been starving for some good news for a very long time. I would say supporters of the government are generally pleased and cautiously optimistic. The opponents of the government, and these are people who are remaining silent, remaining cynical, and I don't think the government at this point can do anything to please their opponents. I think one reaction that has been shared by most people is surprise. Surprise, not just that this agreement was signed on this Friday, but just how quickly it happened. If everything goes well, based on the agreement signed on Friday, Iran and Saudi Arabia can reopen their embassies within the next 2 months. Then you have the government reaction. Obviously, the government is very pleased. They're doing everything they can to sell this through state media and social media as a huge achievement, a significant step, and not just stabilizing the relationship with Saudi Arabia, but stabilizing the region. Remember, these two countries are regional powers. They have huge roles when it comes to security, energy, trade, the economy. So when they're getting along, a lot of good can happen. And when they're not getting along, a lot of bad can happen. For the past few years, obviously, they haven't been getting along, a very tumultuous relationship back in 2016. Saudi Arabia executing a Shia cleric, Iran responding with outrage, protesters raiding the embassy here, diplomatic relations cut off until today, the signing of the agreement, restoring diplomatic relations. Much of the world waiting to see what the implications are.
Hey, the implications, which, as you say, Reza, could go far and wide in the region.
Yeah, it could, because Iran and Saudi Arabia, these two superpowers in this region, have found themselves as adversaries and rivals in a lot of regional conflicts, including Yemen, where many of them have described Iran and Saudi have engaged in a proxy war. So the big question, could the restoration of diplomatic relations bring peace to Yemen? You look at Lebanon, again, Iran and Saudi Arabia found themselves as rivals in that country. Certainly the potential of stabilizing that country if all goes well. It'll be interesting to see Israel's reaction. Obviously, recently there's been discussion between Israel and Saudi Arabia to normalize ties. Israel staunch rivals with Iran. How will Israel react? And this could also have implications in global geopolitics. Remember, the U.S. has always seen itself as the world's mediator. This deal was mediated by China. So it'll be interesting to see the implications worldwide in a world where we're seemingly shifting from a unipolar world to a multipolar world where China can make agreements like this happen.
Forgive me, Reza, for being crude and talking about money here, but what Saudi Arabia and Iran have in common is they're both, the biggest oil producers in the world and in the region.
They are, and in the past, decades ago, they did cooperate when they were getting along. They were able to coordinate oil sales. Certainly, if all goes well and if they work together, they can create a leverage. But I think there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of questions. The rivalries are still in place. And in order to get to where they were decades ago, there's a lot of questions and work that remains.
Reza Sayah reporting